Okay, in our first story, Apple Maps for iOS 15 has been upgraded, and I think it's a pretty clear tell, a tip-off, a clue as to what Apple is working on very diligently, I believe. Who knows if it actually results in a product and when, but if you've upgraded to iOS 15, which is a major iOS update, and there's a lot of buzz about it, a lot of interesting features, FaceTime being one of them, and we've been talking about some of the other features like their Safari email relay I talked about yesterday, where you can basically tunnel and people don't know what you're searching for. Well, let's take a look at this Apple Maps for a second. If you're watching on YouTube or the video podcast stream, you can see some great screen grabs, and they're really highlighting landmarks like Madison Square Garden. Okay, that's nice. They did a little extra rendering on it, but you immediately start to notice that this feels like you're playing in a video game, doesn't it? It looks like The Matrix. It looks like this is an actual 3D world. Well, of course it is. You are clicking on the 3D button. You see this 3D rendering. And here's Coit Tower, a very interesting look. They lit it up. And the Golden Gate Bridge, a nice burgundy or whatever orange that is. I always hear people say red, and then I hear some people say it's burnt orange, the Golden Gate Bridge. But I think all bridges should be painted a bold color. Like the Verrazano Bridge between Staten Island and Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, where I grew up. Imagine if that was painted a bold color, if it was blue or something. Here's Lombard Street, the famous snaking street in San Francisco that a bunch of people go and drive down, and they wait an hour to drive down the street. The Salesforce Tower looking great. So if you're listening live, why is this look so good? Why do these 3D renderings, why are they investing in 3D so much? When, in fact, 2D is better when you're driving, isn't it? Like, this is nice to look at, but it's kind of unnecessary. And in fact, it's not as good of an experience as using a 2D overhead model when you're driving and you need directions. Like, this is obviously for a reason. So if you're in the chat room or you're on Twitter, go ahead and give me your theory of why Apple has enhanced Apple Maps in iOS 15 to this crazy level with these 3D models. Augmented reality, Lita says, yeah, maybe, but there's something more important. And there, Patrick got it, the Apple Car. Very clear that Apple is taking their Maps product super seriously, because once you have Maps and you have everybody with these phones, you know when a phone is moving over 35 miles an hour, it's either somebody in a car or they are on a really fast bicycle. So Apple knows from your phone when you are driving in a car. Now, how many iPhones are there? What's the fidelity of GPS? Okay, they've got a Maps program. You click when you use Apple Maps. Would you like to give us feedback to help us refine Maps? I'm guessing that that's somewhere in the terms of service, and they could be, without us all explicitly knowing it, but I think you would maybe assume that this is happening, refining the maps based on your GPS data. Somebody can look that up if they want in the terms of service. Does Apple refine the Maps product when you're using it based on your GPS data? I'm assuming they do. Now, what that means is they've got, instead of having cars on the road, they have phones on the road. Those phones are iterating on the Maps program, just like Teslas are live on the road and are getting data, or Uber and Lyft and FedEx trucks, Amazon delivery drivers, they are all providing data to refine Maps. And it may not be cameras like on a Tesla where they have video of every junction and every weird moment when people slam on their brakes or turn too hard. All that data is being put into these models to build these 3D worlds. These 3D worlds are what self-driving is made of. That's why Apple is basically taking a page out of Google's playbook and Tesla's. Google uses Google Maps data, obviously, to inform Waymo, and Waze data, you can be sure, is informing Waymo in some way. And obviously, Tesla's been very clear that their million-plus cars are on the road. Some number of them have the self-driving, whether it's been paid for or turned on or not. And that makes it amazing for them to refine it. In fact, back in 2017, Tim Cook confirmed Apple was working on autonomous software and systems. We know that. We're focused on autonomous systems. It's a core technology. This is a quote that we view as very important. We sort of see it as the mother of all AI projects. It's probably one of the most difficult AI projects actually to work on. Now, Apple is super secretive. When they do mention a project and they expand and give reasons, or they give this sort of color or texture, as he does here about autonomous systems, that means they've got it going on. When they say, hey, we're going to pull the string on augmented or pull the string on, TV and see where it leads us. Yeah, that means they were going to launch Apple TV, both content and the product. So we know that this is going to be a big deal. And in December of 2020, Bloomberg reported that Apple shifted the leadership team in their self-driving car unit, which is called Titan, giving the reins over to top AI executive Gian Andrea. Hope I pronounced that correct, John. I'd love to have you on the program, but Apple people are not allowed to go on podcasts and talk about what you're working on, because I would ask you, hey, what's next? And you'd say, we can't talk about what's next. So people gave Apple a really hard time about software and how poorly they made their apps and their software. And actually, I think previously how poorly they did cloud. And any kind of cloud-based service, like remember MobileMe, how terrible that was compared to iCloud? iCloud's actually pretty great now. And so is their services business, whether it's Apple Music, delightful product with a lot of nuance in it. So I think that's what we're seeing here is Apple is really getting much better at cloud and much, much better at building software. Apple Maps was a disaster. It was when it was released, you can type in Apple Maps launch and you can find all the things that were wrong in it. And now you're starting to see they're taking it seriously. Does this mean they're going to actually compete in cars? Yeah, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that that's a market where they're going to actually have great success. It's a lot harder than people think, but I think people said that with mobile phones too, when Apple just made PCs. So I would never underestimate Apple. They seem to work on things for, a decade. And when they do release them, they tend to be pretty darn good. Sometimes it takes them 5 or 6 versions, I will say. The Apple Watch was one of those products. I don't know if you have an Apple Watch, but it took about 6 years to get good. Okay, let's go on to our next story. Zendesk is the go-to tool for customer support. We all know that. They also offer a suite of tools designed to remove the difficulties of sales software. So, get Zendesk's suite of sales tools plus their industry-leading support software for free for 6 months as part of Zendesk for Startups. I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. But I want you to know that you'll also get access to Zendesk's community of startup founders and partners, and they'll even offer dedicated onboarding guidance and support. You know Steezy Studios, it's one of our portfolio companies, and they sell software to learn how to dance. Hundreds of thousands of people are using that software, and they want to make sure everybody has a great experience with the software, obviously. So, through a combination of Zendesk Explorer and their ticket tagging system, Steezy is able to track which features their users are most excited about and then relay that to the product team. So they're using customer support to make the product better. So for Steezy, Zendesk creates a positive relationship with their members and empowers them to contribute to Steezy's growth in return for some awesome dance moves. Get 6 months of Zendesk for Startups free at zendesk.com/twist. To qualify, you must have under 50 employees. That's reasonable. And you must have raised a Series A or below and be a new Zendesk customer. A couple conditions there because they're giving you something really valuable for free. 6 months of Zendesk for Startups. Start building the best customer experiences at zendesk.com/twist.